What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you've experienced? I had an Android phone which had a Google Cards feature option that could notify you like 15 minutes to home if you were out. I thought this feature was annoying and useless, so I kept the feature off. After several months of no cards notifications, one night I'm at home and a card pops up saying 35 minutes to home, pinning me at a random intersection on the other side of town. Let's call it First Street and Story. I think that's weird. I'm not even way over there. I don't even know where that is. I've never been to that area. I go to my card setting to turn it back off, but it's already turned off. That's weird. Woke next night, exact same thing happens. 35 minutes to home from First Street and Story. What the? Still definitely not over there. Check cards feature and the notifications are still turned off, so no idea why I'm getting a notification. Few days later, a friend and I are out running errands, and he misses his intended exit, so he takes the next one. Once on the streets, I ask, where are we? I've never been over here. Suddenly a car to our right tries to turn left and crashes right into us. Messed up the wheel to be unable to turn, so he pulled forward to the curb to call a tow truck. We had our kids in the car, so I call my sister to pick us all up. When my sister asks me for the location, I look up at the street signs. First Street and Story. Not sure if anyone will believe me or not, but duck it, here goes. When I was in high school, my friend Phil ended himself. I never really knew the specifics. All I know is that he shot himself at one of the local parks. Fast forward 6 years or so, and I'm asleep in bed next to my ex-wife. I'm having a fairly normal dream. I was at a store doing something or another. I can't really remember the specifics of the beginning of the dream. What I do remember is running into Phil in the store. When I saw him, everything got super weird. He actually looked like Phil. Not like in most dreams where people will be certain people, but not look like them. He actually looked like Phil. He looked at me and smiled and said, "Hey man." At the moment the dream got crystal clear. I asked him if it was really him, and he said it was. He told me we were gonna hang out for a bit, and after that the dream got super lucid. He showed me how to make stuff, and generally we just walked around doing dream things. Suddenly I realized that my dream was coming to an end. I turned to him and asked him if I was about to wake up. He said yes and said he had fun coming to hang out with me for a bit. I don't know why, but I asked, "So would you do it, man? Would you kill yourself?" The way he answered chilled me to my core. Not necessarily what he said, just how he said it. He replied, "My girlfriend cheated on me, man." He said it like it was a question he'd answered before. Like when someone asks you what your first job was, you've responded with the exact same sentence so many times that it just falls off of your tongue effortlessly. Except I had known his girlfriend, and they were the kind of couple that everyone admired. I said, Sophie cheated on you." His eyes lit up like he realized he was talking to someone that actually knew him in life. He said, "Yeah man, Sophie cheated on me." We gave each other a hug, and he wished me well. I woke up and felt super strange. It was somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning. I closed my eyes and thought, "Phil, if that was really you, I need you to give me a sign." No sooner than when that thought finished, my phone started ringing. It came across as an unknown number and only rang twice. I knew I wasn't dreaming anymore, because my ex-wife woke up and sleepily asked me who was trying to call me so late. To this day, when I think about that story, I get chills. A couple of weeks ago, my dog Coda came into my room and started to try to jump on my bed, which she was successful of doing after a couple of tries, and I gave her a little nudge to, get off my bed. She jumped down and left. Then I heard my phone downstairs, so I walked down and get a call from my grandma, who said she made some food. So I said, "Okay, I will stop by and come eat." I get my jacket on and get ready to leave. I get my keys and grab my dog's leash to take her. We got in the car and drove for about 10 minutes, then arrived. I was eating and talking to my grandma and things. But when I was getting ready to leave, I couldn't find Coda. I searched everywhere in the backyard, in the front, outside. Nowhere to be found. After a good hour of searching my grandma's neighborhood, it started to get dark. It was about 9:30ish. So I decided to come back and check. The next day I left and went to sleep. The next morning I woke up because I heard something downstairs. To my surprise, it was my dog, and at that point I thought, wait, what? Later I came back to my grandma's to tell her I found my dog. As soon as I arrived, After I told her about how Coda was home, I thought to myself, did I even bring her? I asked my grandma, and she said yes, I did, because I left the leash in her living room. I then asked my grandma to watch her footage on her cameras from last night, and there was no footage of the Coda in the street or leaving the front door, but there was footage of her entering the house with me. I went home later, Coda was still there. Until this day I still don't know what happened. I was sitting on my porch and had my debit card on the table in front of me. I went inside to get something to drink, patio furniture in sight, and a 6-foot privacy fence around the yard. I also lived alone. Went back outside and it was just gone. I searched everywhere, inside and out, but couldn't find it. Nothing was withdrawn from my account, so 2 days later I cancelled it and requested a new one. 2 weeks later I went out to sit on the porch. I did this every day, and the old card was sitting right there on the table. It just appeared. There was nothing else on the table. It just was gone. And then it wasn't. Edit. Got a few replies, so let me clarify. I lived alone. The porch was screened. I literally took off all the cushions on the porch, destroyed my house. The table was your typical glass patio table, and I sat out there every freaking day, and there wasn't anything on it. Then 2 weeks later it was just sitting there on the table. Nothing was withdrawn from my account. I genuinely have no explanation. Back when I smoked, I had a white disposable lighter like this. It was the amazing disappearing/reappearing lighter. Total amount of time I had that thing was probably 4 years, which in itself is 10 lifetimes in lighter years. The thing is, it never left my car. I would use it, set it down in the same spot every time, and then it would be gone. Then, months later it would reappear in the same spot. I keep my cars extremely clean. As in, at any point in time I can tell you every single item in the car. So it's not like it was hiding under shit. It was just straight up gone to the ether. I know it was the same lighter because it was the crazy cheap ass knockoff Bic with these weird angles, and just a very distinct lighter that I've never seen before or since. Then one day, it was empty. So long, mystery lighter. I was reading on my laptop in my bedroom, and suddenly I hear my best friend calling my name, and it sounded like she was talking through the phone. I look around for my phone, thinking she has called, and somehow one of my siblings has answered, and has hid the phone somewhere to prank me. No phone around, nor siblings. And meanwhile my bestie is still talking. Answer me, why aren't you talking? And then it goes silent. I get really nervous, start crying and asking my siblings if they have something to do with this, or am I going crazy and hearing voices? They all try to console me. Later, I find my phone downstairs. The next day I tell my friends about it, and bestie says that she did in fact call me last night, and I did answer, and she kept calling my name for a couple of minutes, thinking I was playing with her, until she eventually hung up. To this day I don't understand how the phone just answered the call on its own, and how I was able to hear my friend from upstairs. I took a hard news/soft news journalism class in college, where one of the assignments was to write an obituary for one of my grandparents. The professor told us to write it on a deceased grandparent, but if all of your grandparents were still alive, we had to choose one. In my case, all of my grandparents were alive. I procrastinated the assignment until the night before it was due because it seemed like a dumb assignment, scramming for an easy grandparent to write about. I gave my mom a call and asked her for some basic biographical information about my maternal grandfather, who was still alive. As we were talking about my grandpa's career, my mom couldn't recall the name of one of the companies he worked at. She lectured me about waiting until the last minute to write the assignment, because it was late 10:30 p.m. my grandpa's time. However, she said she would give him a call to see if he was still awake and be able to answer that question once my assignment was due the following morning. When my mom called my grandpa, my grandma answered the phone in a panic. My grandma frantically explained that the paramedics had just arrived and were performing CPR on my grandpa, because he had stopped breathing and passed out. My mom was able to stay on the phone with my grandma until they took my grandpa to the hospital, where he was declared dead. In the time my mom and I had been talking on the phone about my grandpa's obituary, he was dying, out of the blue, at that. He had been otherwise healthy considering his age. We ended up using the obituary I wrote for that writing assignment as his actual obituary. Still freaks me out when I think about the timing. I've wrote about this before, it's one of the weirdest things I've experienced. When my, now ex-boyfriend had just gotten together, I went out and bought him some new shirts. We had just fallen in love, and I saw a shirt that said Love Life on it in big red bold letters. The shirt was all white with only the words on the front. It was a little inside joke between us, I guess, because we would use that phrase to describe our life, and named our business Love Life. He really loved it and wore it a lot before it sat in the closet for a couple years. Well, a couple years go by and let's just say Love Life was a horrible definition of our relationship. He was horrible. Anyways, in cleaning out the closets, getting rid of old clothes, and there's the shirt. I pull it out, and the shirt now reads Low Life the exact same way it looked before, but it says Low Life. I immediately ask him if he remembers the shirt and what it said, and he tells me Love Life. Well, as soon as I show him the shirt, he flips out the same way I did. Both of us know that the shirt never said Low Life. Why would I buy anyone a shirt that said that, let alone my boyfriend? It's like I flipped dimensions into the reality where my ex-BF was a complete abusive douche, and it showed up in the shirt. Edit. For people curious, I found something similar, but not the exact shirt. It looked kinda like this, but the letters were bolder, more impact style font, and there was nothing below it or anything else on the shirt. I swear to God, my mom told me my cousin died from an overdose a year before he actually did. So when she told me and I replied, yeah, from an overdose, right? She was shocked that I already knew. I thought she was somehow messing with me until she showed me his death date. I still can't really explain that one. Edit. A lot of people are mentioning that he could have overdosed before and survived, making it that I assumed he died the first time. The weird thing is that I barely knew anything about this cousin. My mom's extended side is very big with 22 first cousins, 40 plus second cousins, etc. So there's a lot of cousins I've never met personally, and I specifically only remember being told about his drug addiction, in context of it contributing to his death, since my family speculates it was intentional and not accidental. Basically, I never really knew much about him while he was alive. So while it's very plausible I could have heard about him overdosing beforehand, the way I remember it is very different. Memory is a fickle thing though, so who knows? When I was attending college, a friend and myself were walking back to our dorm late one night. I attended a school with a primarily white population. As we were getting within about a half mile of our dorm, we were laughing about some joke when we noticed a black man in torn clothing running at us full speed. We both slowed our pace to a crawl as he kept coming at us, unaware what was going to happen. The man got closer and closer, and when he passed under a street light, we noticed a few things that were odd. He was A, sprinting away from something, and B, holding a rather large bowl of fruit. He sprinted past us without even regarding our existence, and when we looked back to where he had come from, we noticed what appeared to be a bear cub sprinting in our direction. Both my friend and I began taking steps backwards slowly, and just as we were about to start following the man in the same panicked manner, the animal took a beeline for a curb, toward what appeared to be a sewer drain. The closer it got to the drain, the smaller this animal appeared, until it was the size of a small mouse, and it went straight into the drain, out of sight. The closer we got to the drain, it seemed to fade from view. When we were standing right next to the curb, it became clear there was no drain whatsoever. We proceeded to walk back in silence to the dorms. Still no clue what happened that night, but I remember several things during my time there that were unexplainable. I have a weird one. Back in October of 2005, I met my now wife. We had first hooked up on a Saturday night at a gig in the city, and we arranged to meet again the following Wednesday night for a beer or a coffee. I remember feeling like absolute crap on the Wednesday morning after being out the night before at a bar for my birthday, with my buddies drinking and getting high and whatnot. I really did want to call her and see her again, but I felt so shitty that I just knew I wouldn't make a good impression. I had no energy, looked and felt like something the cat dragged in, and I just wanted to sleep. I was really dreading calling her to postpone in case she took it the wrong way, and thought I was ditching her. When my cell phone rang that afternoon, I answered it automatically without really registering the number, as it was on an old shitty Nokia with a green 2-inch screen. It was a girl's voice on the line asking me did I mind if she took a rain check on our date that evening. She said she was hoping we could meet up again the following weekend instead, as she was really tired from work. Totally relieved, I said no problem at all. When we met up again on the following Friday, we got to talking, and I confessed that I was glad she had postponed our date, as I felt terrible the previous Wednesday. She replied that she hadn't called me on Wednesday afternoon, and that she hadn't rain-checked our initial date. She had however been expecting my call, and she told me that she had just assumed I didn't call her, because I was being She said when I actually did call her on the Thursday to arrange the date, she changed her opinion and thought I was okay. My phone record showed I had accepted a call on Wednesday afternoon that lasted 3 minutes. but the number came up blocked. I guess in hindsight I could have investigated further by asking the cell phone company to obtain the details of the blocked number, but I didn't really think too much about it back at the time. As time goes by, I sometimes wonder if whoever I spoke to on my cell phone on that Wednesday afternoon intervened in our lives in some way for some reason. We are married with children now, and from time to time when I contemplate the event, some Marty McFly BTTF shit comes into my mind. Who the fuck knows? I just know it was something odd as a cod. Was going down the stairs and went past my brother who was coming up the stairs. Said hi, and he sort of mumbled back. Got downstairs and walked through to the kitchen only to find him standing there. WTF. I've had a crazy similar thing happen. It was like 4 in the morning, and I'm quite the night owl, so I'm headed downstairs to grab something to drink. The kitchen is separated from the living room by a dividing wall. But I realize someone is in there because I can see a person's shadow from around the corner. I think to myself, oh, roommate must be up already. Maybe he has something to do. So as I turn corner I say, hey, insert roommate's name. Good morning. And immediately feel like an idiot. And get a chill up my spine, because no one is in the kitchen besides me. I search the entire first floor of the house frantically, and no one is there. So I head back upstairs and knock on my roommate's door. No answer, so I slowly open the door. Roommate is passed out asleep, and doesn't seem like he is waking up anytime soon. There is no way he could have made it back up to his room that fast without running. And I would have noticed because the floors are creaky, especially on the staircase. When he woke up in the morning, I told him about what had happened. His eyes got real wide, and he turned pale. He looked me right in the eye and said, "That isn't a funny joke, don't f with me." Turns out he had been having bad dreams all night about someone being in the house who shouldn't have been, but whenever he confronted the person he could never see their face. All that was there was a black silhouette. Haven't had that experience since, and we agree not to talk to each other about it. This is late and pretty stupid, but why not? I was once showering, and after about 10 minutes in the shower, I hear something ping and hit the floor. I looked down and saw a penny. I was pretty perplexed, as you can imagine, but figured whatever, I'll keep it, as I imagined it could be good luck. I kept the penny in my wallet for a few years in a zip side pouch. I never really told anyone because it was kind of pointless to talk a random penny I was superstitious about. So a few years later, while at a music festival, a girl in our tent woke up to a penny in her crack. We all laughed it off as having a wild night. However, I remembered the penny I had, and when I looked in the zip pouch I was shocked to find it was gone. I told my friends and they didn't believe me. I think they threw that penny away too. ~(~)~Dr teleportation penny. I hate when this happens. Most recently for me, I was about to have a popsicle, a frozen small yogurt to be specific, but I squeezed the container too hard to try and get it out, and it just up and pinged out of the container, somewhere over my left shoulder, and that's the last I've seen of it. My room is pretty messy and cluttered, so there's not that many places it could have gone without getting stuck somewhere. Yet I haven't seen it since the thing flew over my shoulder. I looked for it for a long while, even asked my mom to help me find it, to no avail. I've at this point accepted that either the damn thing materialized into some goblin's mouth in another dimension, or when I next clean my room completely, I'll find a colony of ants next to a sticky puddle of melted yogurt, complete with a plastic spoon in the middle of it. It was my favorite flavor too, and I'd been saving it. It probably nearly hit me then. It disappeared and came out and went after me. About 20 or so years ago, around 2 AM, a quarter flew out of the dining area and nearly pegged me. It hit the wall next to me. My brother witnessed the incident, and it creeps the out of us to this day. No one was in the dining area. Just a rogue quarter flew from that general direction towards me. I thought it was my dad, but this house was huge, and I ran over to his bedroom, but the master bedroom was closed, and I could hear him snoring. That dining area always gave me the heebie-jeebies. I once walked past it in the late AM, and heard glass clinking sounds. I looked over and the freaking chandelier started swaying back and forth. It could have been a small earthquake, but I didn't feel anything shaking or anything. I had never seen the movie Pulp Fiction until a couple of months ago. I didn't even have the slightest idea what it was about before watching it, just that I should watch it more than once to fully understand it. At times, I dream of something seemingly insignificant, and this insignificant event takes place in real life, and I'm all holy deja vu. Well, this time, I dreamed of someone explaining to me that someone's soul was kept in a case, and the scar on the back of this person's neck was where his soul was removed. Fast forward, I'm on a date with a boy and we watch Pulp Fiction. He asks me what I thought was in this case. There's a case in the movie, and it's never actually revealed what's in it. And he tells me it was this character's soul. And that's why there's a scar on the back of his neck. Exactly how I dreamed it. I was so visibly weirded out I couldn't contain my reaction. Pure coincidence is a possibility for the other times this dream deja vu happened. But I had dreamt someone telling me a major plot point / ending of a movie I had never seen in my life. This may not be woo-woo creepy the way most stories are, but here goes. I find that, if I stop trying to control everything and let things happen as they will, the universe will send the exact person or thing I need to me. I lost my job a few years ago and went home totally dejected. I decided to rest for that night, and not stress about a job hunt until the next morning. The next morning I was awakened by a phone call from this guy who was a friend of my ex-boss, who'd just opened his own restaurant and wanted to know if I wanted to work there. It was like the universe had gift-wrapped me a new job and deposited it into my lap. Another time I had found a new apartment, which was only a few blocks from my old apartment. I was heading to my old place to pack my stuff, not really sure how I was going to get it all packed and moved by my lonesome. But I had that same feeling. That feeling of it will work itself out. I think my phone had gone dead, so I stopped a random guy on the street to ask what time it was. He asked me casually what I was doing, and I told him, oh, I'm about to pack and try to move all my things. And this rando said, I'll help you. For some reason, I wasn't wary of him. I felt like it was meant to be. So he came with me to my old place, helped me pack, and then helped me carry my stuff to my new place. He was super nice and helpful, and it was like it was all meant to be, like he'd been put there, right on that particular street corner at that particular moment to fix my predicament. Was playing Minecraft with friends over Skype on my desktop PC. When I disconnected from Minecraft, I was still chatting with everyone on Skype when I checked my browser. That also wasn't functioning, so I got up and decided to check the router, announcing to everyone I was doing so. I checked it and it was fine. So still unable to connect, I asked the group, what should I do? And someone replied, check it's actually plugged in. I stood up while saying, well, how am I still talking to you then? Assuming it was so bug or partial disconnect. I at this point saw my Ethernet cable unplugged, and about 2 centimeters away from the back of my machine. I announced this over Skype to everyone, and as soon as I did, the call dropped. This freaked me out for years until I saw a demo of someone scanning a VGA cable from across the room and managing to get an approximation of the picture. I guess I believe that VoIP part of the connection was able to make the jump across the centimeters or so gap or something. But I didn't move anything at any point, and my partner at the time witnessed it as well, luckily, or I'd have thought I was mad. Before anyone say it, I didn't have a Wi-Fi option and still don't. My motherboard 100% doesn't have Wi-Fi, and I definitely didn't have a card for it separately either. I had even theorized at the time it was some kind of surveillance installed covertly on my computer that routed my internet via a different medium. But either way, it freaked me out. We'll never know for sure. I remember as a kid lying in bed at night waiting to sleep. I must have been 6 to 7 years old. My brother was in the other single bed fast asleep, and a babysitter was looking after us, older cousin. As I was laying there, I distinctly remember someone or something tickling my feet. I know it wasn't my brother, and the bedroom door was fully locked and it never opened if my older cousin was messing around. A decade later or so, I was talking to my mum. We were just generally chatting about weird things over the years. She mentioned that she once heard me, as a 5-year-old, chatting away in my bedroom and giggling. As my brother was out with my dad, she went in to see what I was doing. She said I pointed to the chair in the corner and said, talking to the old lady with the glasses. There was no one sat in the chair at all, according to her. Worst thing was, she said that there was an old lady in the house that used to live there. She died in that bedroom, and that was her chair left from when we recently moved in. I don't remember the chatting to the old lady, but I 100% remember the tickling of feet. The chair was in the corner of the room at the base of my bed. Part of me wants it to just be my cousin around with me, but I just know he wasn't in the room. I used to vividly dream about things before they happened in my early 20s. For instance, I had been in a car accident and had to tie the hood down on my car with metal wiring. I dreamed that I was driving and could see the metal melting apart. This was in Arizona in the summer, so not impossible, and then the hood flew up, and I couldn't see in front of me. Sure enough, the next day, I'm driving and it's so hot, and I start picturing in my head the metal melting and the hood coming up when it suddenly does. Completely cracked my windshield, and I couldn't see anything in front of me until I could use my side and rear view mirror to pull over and pull the hood back down. Also, anytime my best friend from junior high calls me, I always dream of her the night before. She never calls unless I dream about her. This morning I had a dream that included my older brother, who I don't get to talk to very often, and I woke up to a phone call from him. It terrifies me when I have vivid bad dreams, because I think they are going to come true. Some have in the past. My wife and I bought new phones. They came with earbuds. This is not the weird part. I hate grocery shopping, but my wife asked me to pick up things from 2 different stores. I brought the earbuds with me, so I could listen to a podcast while I was there. Time to check out, so everything went in my pocket. Fast forward 10 minutes and I'm at the next grocery store. Pull my phone and earbuds out of my pocket. Sons of the rubber piece for the left ear is gone. Search my pockets and tear the car apart. Nothing. I lost it at the first grocery store. This is also not the weird part. 2 weeks later my wife is watching videos on her phone. Her left earbud won't stay in. Well, what do you know? There are now 2 of those rubber things on her left earbud. Cool. Now I can use mine again. That was the kinda weird part. A month goes by, and the left rubber thing for my earbud is gone. I blame the kids. They say they never touched it. Kids always lose everything. Then another month goes by. My wife came home from work. She took her shoes off and sat on the couch. We talked about our days and a half-hour later decided to head out. She put her shoes back on. She said there was something in her shoe. It was that damn thing again. I'd love to know what the hell was going on with that. I have a good one for this, and I would love to hear if anyone has any explanations. Last year on Father's Day I met my family at my parents' house, and we had a barbecue in the garden. Both of the dogs were out, so we put the 2 rabbits into their pen on the grass. The pen is about 2 foot tall and 5 by 5 foot squared. After food we walked to the pub, leaving the dogs in the house and the rabbits in the pen. When we get back a couple of hours later we go back into the garden and notice that one of the rabbits is sitting on the roof of the pen. There were no patches of grass dug up, all of the panels, corners and chicken wire mesh were completely secure, and the pen was too tall for rabbit to have jumped up. Also strange that only one of them escaped and chose to sit on the roof, and not jump down to eat the nearby vegetables. Also they were both white rabbits, and would have been dirty if it had dug through the soil. I cannot work out how that rabbit ended up sitting on top of its hutch completely clean, and with no visible signs of it escaped. I can only assume some sort of glitch caused it to spawn on top of the case rather than inside it. I was sleeping at night in our bed and started to feel like a tingling all over my body, started from my head down to my feet. Then it started to feel like I had electric current running through me. I began to hear a guy and lady's voice, and I finally managed to open my eyes. I then saw that I was getting tossed by the lady, and that the guy was walking over towards my sleeping GF to get her. I was freaking out, and next thing I know I woke up from what ended up being a dream to my girlfriend asking me if I was okay, and that she heard a noise out in our living room. So I get up and walk out to check and see that everything is cool. I walked back into the bedroom and saw the same 2 people standing in the room hovering over her. I woke up again after this, for real this time, and my girlfriend and dog were sound asleep on the bed. I don't know what the F happened that night. When I was young and living on an Air Force base in Montana, I had a dream my mom and I were at the grocery store, and one of our neighbors approached us sans her daughter around my age. The little girl had a heart murmur, but was pretty healthy and had been doing well for years. Dream mom asked where the daughter was, and dream neighbor says she passed away last night. Something happened and her heart just gave out. I was fairly young, around 5, but I asked my mom about it the next morning, and she was creeped out because I was too young to really know the girl had any health issues. But she chalked it up to just weird kid intuition. A few days later, the little girl's mom knocked on our door to tell us her daughter had indeed passed away from an unforeseen heart complication. My mom still loves to tell the story. She's strange.